Welcome back, everyone, to Sugar Mama's Fireplay podcast. I am financial planner Canna Campbell. I know I sound like a broken record, but I just want to make sure it's always up front because it's written in the podcast description, and that is my general advice disclaimer and my financial planning license details. All of my content, whether it be a blog post, a YouTube video, a podcast, or something you see on my Instagram account, it is always general advice only. It is ever investment advice, product advice, or personal advice. And should you ever come across something, whether it be my content or someone else's, and you think, oh, I wonder if I should be using that, I think that's when you should always go and reach out to a financial planner and get tailored personal advice that's in relation to your situation, your goals, your deadline, and your risk profile. All right, let's get cracking with this podcast for today. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm feeling a little bit scared sharing this podcast with you because I'm about to air my dirty laundry. I'm going to share with you where I had a monumental financial stuff up last week. You see, last night I put on my Instagram account, I have had a financial shocker this week. Would you like to hear about it? And 96% of you guys said, yes, I want to hear about where you went wrong. And some, I know there were going to be people judging me as they hear about how badly I've stuffed up. But there are 3 reasons why I'm sharing this with you. Number 1 is so that you hear this and you never make the same mistake I have made. Number 2 is you realize I am human. I am very good with money. I'm very wise with money. I'm very responsible with money. But every now and again, I have slip-ups. I have regretful purchases. I make mistakes. They're innocent and I always learn and grow from them, but I'm human. And the other reason, which I think is the most important reason, is to share with you how I am dealing with this financial stuff up. Like, I've seriously had a shocker this week, or last week actually. And even Tom said to me, like, who are you? What has happened to you? God, do I need to take over our finances right now? Because you've never done this before. Like, this is how much of a shocker I've had. So feel free to judge me if you want, but please use this to use my mistake, my error, so you don't make the same mistake as I've done, to realize that I'm human just like you. Just, try to do the best job I can in a challenging world. And number 3 is how to deal with mistakes. Quite often I come across people who are like, oh, they're so ashamed and embarrassed and guilty and remorseful of their previous mistakes or their previous history. And I'm not about punishing or depriving or being mean to yourself for your history. I'm about drawing a line in the sand, moving on, but growing from it, taking on the wisdom, taking on the lesson so that you never make the same mistakes again. Because it's okay to make mistakes. It's just as long as we don't repeat them. Otherwise, we're just going round and round in circles. We need to evolve and grow and to become wiser, stronger, smarter with money so that we have financial harmony in our life. That's what I'm really about. So here we go. I'm going to air my financial stuff-ups from last week. And this was an expensive stuff-up. All right, number 1, I discovered as I'm literally about to give birth, I'm not covered under my private health insurance to have my baby in a private hospital. It's going to cost us about $7,000 to have our baby in the private hospital. It turns out, and I found this out in the middle of the night when I had to go to the hospital for a quick checkup because I found out I'm dilating at 5 weeks early. And I was filling out the paperwork, going into the birthing suite, and they said to me, look, we've just looked at your policy. You're actually not covered under your private health insurance policy. I was like, hang on, no. I've had the same private health insurance policy for 12, 13 years. I've got top level of cover. And that there's got to be a mistake. And they're like, yeah, there probably is a mistake. But look, just letting you know, but if you're not covered, this is how much it's going to cost. It was $6,800 and then plus any check-ins that I'm going to have as well. So like, oh, it's fine. Okay, so yep, turns out when I took out the policy, I took out top level of cover, but for some reason I didn't tick the box to be covered to have a baby in a private hospital. So that was a very expensive, shocking awakening. And the second thing that happened is I got scammed. Yep, Canna Campbell, Sugar Mama, got scammed. And I got scammed on the second-hand economy, which is now the pre-loved economy, or the circular economy is the fashionable term. There is this cot that is this whiz-bang cot, and it's a very expensive cot, like a ridiculous cot. And I initially was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. I don't have to buy a cot like that. That's outrageous. But then as I came across more and more mothers they swore to me this cot is so worth it. And I was talking to Tom about it, and it's like, Hannah, break it down over this first 6 months. Like that works out to be like, $30 a night for an extra hour's sleep or less broken sleep. Like your mental health is worth it. Like this actually probably could be a really smart investment for us. And I was like, oh, no, still, this cot is $2,500 just to put things into perspective. It's like, no, that's insane. Oh, sorry, it's not $2,500. I think it's about $1,800. I was like, no, that's insane. And anyway, as more and more research I started to do, I was like, and looking at the numbers, I was like, oh, actually, this isn't so bad. So being the frugal person that I am, I decided, okay, well, hang on. Why don't I go and rent this cot? Because don't have to contribute to its landfill, get to hand it back over 6 months later. I can't have any more children, so this will be our last one, and that's great. Now, problem was, number one, I couldn't find the cot to rent because it was booked out, and number two, the cost of renting it was almost the full cost of the cot itself. I thought, well, hang on, if I bought the cot, I'd at least be able to sell it to the circular economy afterwards, so I'd at least get some money back rather than, renting it. Anyway, so it was stuffed there because I couldn't rent it because it wasn't available, and the cost of renting it for 6 months was pretty much the full cost of the cot. Next thing was, okay, I looked to buy this cot on the pre-loved economy. The problem was, it was like literally these cots go on to the pre-loved economy, and they within minutes they are sold. They are in hot pursuit, like they are in such high demand. And I guess because they work and they've got so many fantastic reviews. So literally I've been trawling the secondhand economy trying to find this cot, and I can't get in quick enough. And I was just starting to panic. So then I got to the stage where I was like, okay, fine. I tried my hardest to save some money here. Tom and I have agreed that it's worth investing this money. I will go and buy the cot, brand new, and we can sell it on the pre-loved economy. So went to try and buy it everywhere. It's sold out. You cannot get it anywhere. And even I tried buying from overseas, but they couldn't ship in time to get to Australia because of COVID. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I went on the waiting list. Waiting list is very long. I started to panic. Okay. Now, the night of coming back from the hospital, discovering that we're not covered under private health insurance to have our baby in hospital, I am staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night, thinking about where am I going to, I have pretty much everything sorted now except a baby's cot. I don't know where I'm going to put this baby in. My obstetrician's like, Hannah, you're probably going to be giving birth in the next 3 to 5 days. I'm in a mad panic. And I also should point out, the cost of the hospital is going to be, for each night we have to stay an extra, especially if the baby is premature. It's, I think, about $500 each night more. So we're up for some big expenses. Anyway, I jump on to Gumtree, and I happened to find this cot, and it's out in Oberon, and it's significantly cheaper. And I messaged the person, not expecting to hear back from them at 2 a.m, saying, hi, is this still available? Like, if it is, please, I'll buy it. I'll get a courier to come and pick it up because we're in lockdown at the moment. And this person's messaging me back. She's like, oh, hi, yeah, I'm a mother as well. It's amazing, this cot. It's really good. Yep, that's no problem. Look, I do have 2 other mothers who say they want it as well, but I just need to sell it. I don't want to be stuffed around, so it's first in, best dressed. Whoever pays for it first gets it first. It's like, yep, no problem. I'm asking questions. I'm saying, can you send me more photos? It's still under warranties. It's still working. And she was really nice, and she even recognized my name. She's like, oh, are you Sugar Mama? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Anyway, I said, look, it's 2:00 in the morning. I promise you, first thing in the morning, I'm going to pay you, and then I'll organize for a courier to collect it. And because you've helped me out so much, and letting me buy this first and helping me, I'll even pay a little bit extra as a thank you once it comes back to me. So in the morning, the person messaged me, said, yep, here's my bank details. And I asked them for PayPal, and they said, oh, sorry, I don't have PayPal. And I was like, oh, I cannot lose this cot. Like at least I'm saving some money here. I've stuffed up at the hospital. I'm saving money here. Transfer the money and sent them a screenshot of the payment details, and they said, look, it hasn't come through. And I was like, oh, hang on, no, here's the screenshot receipt details. The money's definitely there, but look. And then they started to get angry at me because they're like, don't stuff me around. I've got all these people who want the cot. And I was like, oh God. Anyway, I said, look, it's fine. I trust the money's gone through. Please trust me, but let's wait 24 hours so you can see it come through overnight. And, they said, that's fine. Message the next morning, still saying the money hasn't come through. And I know the money's gone through, and I've spoken to the bank. I know. And I realized I'd been scammed because the ad had been removed and they stopped replying back to me. And I had to realize, okay, I have pretty much blown about $9,000 in new hospital expenses. And I've also lost $700 through being scammed. So let's call it $10,000 stuff up. Yep, Sugar Mama had a shocker of a week. Absolute shocker. And I am really embarrassed. I'm really shamed. I'm really frustrated. I'm really angry at myself. I can't believe this. This doesn't really happen to me. And anyway, so I want to share with you in this podcast what I've done to fix this, what I'm doing to move on for it to grow from it, be smarter, wiser, and hopefully never let this happen again. And by me sharing this with you, as I said, I want you to listen to my mistakes so that you avoid this ever happening to you, to realize we're all human. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. And it's about learning from these mistakes, as I said. And then importantly, how to deal with it wisely. Because as I said, so often we can punish ourselves and beat ourselves up for stuffing up, and that does not help us in any way possible. It's about growing. It's about evolving. It's becoming smarter and wiser. All right. So these are the 7 things I've done and I'm doing to grow and learn from this. All right. Number 1 is acknowledgement and responsibility. I could so easily blame that person for scamming me. I could blame my younger self for taking out an insurance policy and not properly checking it and not being covered for something like this. And I will point out my 2, Apple and Rocco, both were born in the public system, so that's why it's never got picked up in the past. So taking full responsibility, that meant, this was the hard one, having to pick up the phone and tell Tom, call him up and say, honey, I've had a real shocker, and be completely honest with him and take full responsibility and say, yeah, it's completely my mistake. I'm really, really sorry. This is what's happened. And to Tom's credit, he was so calm and so rational about it. He's like, and look, he even had a bit of a laugh. He's like, honey, who are you? Like, what's happened? Do you need me to take over our finances? Like there are a few swear words in there as well. But and I hated it. And there was an element of me that just wanted to hide all the evidence and cover it all up and never let him know. But of course, that's not the right thing to do, and I would never do that anyway. But when you're just like, oh, I'm dreading this phone call. But it felt good taking acknowledging it, going, yep, full ownership. I'm going to wear this, and I take full responsibility. I felt grown up. I felt empowered to a certain degree, and it's part of our human growth. It felt good as much as I hated to admit it. The second thing is to fix this so that it doesn't happen again, and to take responsible action. So for me, that it meant sitting down and going, all right, how did I manage to do this? This is not who I am. How did I manage to make this mistake? I'm someone who's pretty meticulous with my insurance policies. I know my excesses. I know what I'm covered for. I know what I'm not covered for. I have life cover. I have TPD cover. I have income protection. I have trauma cover. Tom has all of these policies as well. Our home is covered. Our cars are covered. Our personal effects are covered. Everything is covered. Like, how did I manage to get things wrong? And I sort of realized, sometimes I'm rushing around too much. I've got too much on my plate. I'm rushing. I'm not paying attention. I'm missing detail. So for me, just spending some time thinking about that has made me realize, okay, I need to slow down, say no to a few things, inspect things, take a bit more time and care in double checking things. The other thing was, of course, is taking the responsibility and reporting this. So obviously, I contacted, and I'll happily disclose it's Gumtree that I tried, that I got scammed on. And I will say, I love Gumtree. I use Gumtree all the time for the $1,000 project. I buy things on Gumtree all the time. I've never had a problem with Gumtree. And when I called Gumtree and reported this, they were absolutely amazing. They were so kind and sympathetic, and they gave me details to report to the police and gave me a link of a document to read as well. They were absolutely brilliant. So, this person will be reported to the police now, and hopefully, who knows what will happen, but you've got to make sure that if you get scammed, you've got to report it, because that stops other people from being ripped off as well. And hopefully they get caught and they face their own consequences of their illegal activity. So really important that, you spend some time going, all right, how do I avoid this so I don't make the same mistake again? What's the lesson behind this? What's the message behind this? And of course, make sure you always report any sort of scams or someone being ripped off. It's really important. We've all got to do the right thing, because that's how we clamp down on this. Now, the next thing is solutions. Okay, I've taken responsibility. I've stuffed up. Full ownership. I've picked up the message and the lesson and the wisdom for this in where I've gone wrong. And I've taken the responsible thing in reporting it. And of course, I did call up my private health insurance company and had a chat with them and said, is there anything I can do here to fix this? And they're like, is there anyone I can talk to? Is there a letter I can write? Is there anything I can appeal to? And they're like, absolutely not. But it's worth picking up the phone as well and seeing what can be done to try and fix it as well. Like, are there alternative solutions? And of course, yes, we can go into the public system to have this baby, but because I've had a few complications, I want to make sure that I stay with this doctor that's been amazing looking at me throughout my pregnancy. And Tom and I both agreed, okay, no, we're not going to dip back into the public system. We'll stay in the private and we'll wear this cost ourselves. So solutions. This is a really important part of, I think, financial stuff ups is going, okay. And this is where the healing and the growth, the real magic and power of the healing and growth is solutions. All right. As I said, I've made acknowledged, stuffed up, fixed it, reported it. How do we move on now from here? How do we draw that line in the sand? And that's solution. So I've sat down and worked out, okay, let's call this a $10,000 stuff up. How am I going to come up with replenishing this money? Because this $10,000 has come out of our emergency savings. And I've sat down and worked out, okay, all right, I can find some extra ways of saving some money from our budget. We're about to have a baby, so we're not going to be doing anything extravagant or luxurious or anything like that. We have a very basic living, especially with lockdown at the moment. So that's going to help me save some extra money that I can put towards that $10,000 loss or expense that we've just copped. The other thing I looked at was, okay, hang on, this is our last baby because I can't have another baby after this. We'll have a lot of baby stuff that we can look to offload to the circular economy through Gumtree that will help me come up with some extra money that I can put towards making up that $10,000. There's also, I'm going to be working part-time, but as I see fit, mentally and physically, maybe I can take on some freelancing work or some extra work to help bring in some extra money to help make up that $10,000 loss. Now, the important thing here is I'm not going to flog myself and punish myself and try and do all this in a very short period of time to fix it. If it takes me a year to make up that $10,000 loss, it takes a year. If it takes 3 years, it takes 3 years. If it takes 6 months, amazing, great, it takes 6 months. But I will just do the best I can do to slowly and steadily make up that $10,000 loss that I've just, expense that I've just put on my family. And, I will always keep looking for solutions. I won't just write a list and stick to that. I'll keep coming back to my list and saying, okay, well, here's an idea, or here's an opportunity, or maybe we could do this, maybe we could try that. I will keep going until I've made that money back up again. And that's a promise to myself. And I will also point out, this is pressure I'm putting on myself, not anyone else is telling me I've got to make up that money. This is me just going, okay, I've stuffed up. I want to try and fix this and rectify it to the best of my ability. Okay, so the next step is getting perspective again. I've worked out, okay, how I'm going to make up this $10,000, and I haven't worked out the full $10,000 yet, but I'm each day I come up with a new idea and a new thing to do, and I'm bridging that gap every day. So perspective, looking at the big scheme of things. At the end of the day, focusing on the fact that it's obviously it's $10,000 is a lot of money, but in a year's time, that $10,000 isn't going to be something that I'm going to go to my grave and regret about and kick myself for. It's that saying, okay, how are you going to feel about this in 3 years' time or 3 months' time? It's not going to have as much of an emotional trigger or impact on me. So why waste too much energy about pulling myself down and making myself feel bad about it now? That does not mean I sweep it under the mat and not worry about it. But it means I don't need to waste too much negative energy into this. Also, I need to focus on the fact that this baby's health and well-being is the most important thing as well as my own. So, I'm lucky to have to be pregnant. Obviously, all my babies are IVF babies, but I'm so grateful that this pregnancy has succeeded. I've got 5 weeks to go or less, and I've got to put this into perspective, the big scheme of things. I'm having a baby, and I'm in great care and with great doctors and nurses that are going to help this baby, arrive into the world as safely and as smoothly as possible. So keep that perspective of the big picture. And there are a lot of more important things going on in the world, for me to realize that this is not disastrous. I'm someone who can catastrophize things very, very easily. I really can't let that happen. I've got to keep perspective of this. Okay, step number 5 is gratitude. Very much to get that perspective is focusing on the fact that I am pregnant, focusing on the fact that we actually have emergency money for these things. Well, you don't like to think of your emergency money being for stuff-ups and scams, but that's what the whole thing about having emergency money is. Life happens. Things happen in the blink of an eye. Things happen unexpectedly. And that's why we have emergency money. So showing that gratitude towards that emergency money. Also, showing a gratitude to the fact that I have an opportunity to try and make that money up. I am grateful for the fact that I am quite creative with money and that I can come up with ideas to save extra money. I can come up with ideas to earn extra money that will help put this, help replenish this $10,000 loss. So really focusing on the gratitude, the fact that I do have a job that's quite flexible. I can potentially go back a month early if I need to do this. So again, just that focusing on their gratitude. And there have been so many times in my life, and this is what Tom pointed out to me. He's like, there have been so many times in your life where you've actually been really smart and saved money, or you've been really smart and avoided losing money. You've got to remember those things. Like a lot of things do even out in the wash. And, gosh, I've built a $20,000 share portfolio from the $1,000 project. Like that's something to be grateful for. Like, you can't win them all. I can't, minimize every single mistake or never avoid every single mistake. There are things that are going to happen, but there's also been a lot of greatness in my life. There are a lot of opportunities that I've stepped up and seized in my life that have helped me. So I think it's really important to focus on the gratitude as you're going through, working through your mistakes and your errors of life. The 6th step is to, as I said, is to come back and to recenter myself and recalibrate and spend some time alone going through the message and the lesson and the wisdom and this is where there's been another really insightful growth for me, because I've realized I am human. I make mistakes. Yes, I am very good with money. Yes, I'm very wise with money. Yes, I'm very responsible with money. Yes, I'm great at building financial freedom and sharing with people, but I make mistakes. I'm human. I can't put the pressure on myself to think that I'm never going to do that. That's unrealistic. We need to allow ourselves to make mistakes and learn and grow from that. And as I said, for me, investing some time and going, okay, how did I get this so wrong? Like, this is not me. This is not something that ever really happens to me. And as I said, I was rushing in the cot scenario, particularly. I was throwing money at the problem. I was jumping in. I should have listened to my gut. My gut said, hang on, no, they wouldn't take PayPal. Like, that's not, I transferred money from a bank account, which doesn't give me that protection. Like that was foolish of me. And yes, I did ask questions and it did seem very genuine and I was trying to do the best thing, but there's a lesson for me to just slow down and just take a breath, not be so, not trying to just rush to fix things, like just slow down, basically. I think at the moment I'm, slightly overwhelmed and rushing up with wrapping things up for work and obviously getting ready for this baby and dealing with the complications as my pregnancy kind of goes into early labor. There's a lot for me to learn in just not taking on so much, I guess. And also learning to share the load and say, hey, okay, Tom, these are the things we need. Can you organize these things? And I'll organize these things, like work together as a team rather than trying to do it all, which is something I think a lot of women are really guilty of doing. And then the final thing is drawing a line in the sand and moving on, number 7. So going, all right, I made a massive mistake. I was foolish. I was careless. I managed to let this stuff up, but let's draw a line in the sand and move on. We don't need to harp on about it. I don't need to keep dragging myself down and beating myself up about it. It's happened. I can't fix it. I've done as much as I can to fix it, but I need to move on and move on so that I don't make the same mistake again. Move on so I try and replace that money as when I can without damaging myself with a newborn baby, and learning to share my experience with other people so that if there's anyone listening out there that thinks, hang on, I better check my private health insurance policy to make sure I'm covered and I have that 12-month waiting period passed, then that's great. I've saved that person hopefully $6,800 so that they don't have the same error or mistake that I have. Sharing our lessons, sharing our wisdom. I remember my best friend, Georgie, she lost her passport, organized a new passport, went to the airport with her family off on holidays, and she accidentally grabbed the old expired passport that she had previously lost and then found again. And she basically had lost the new passport, and she couldn't fly out with her family. And I remember madly her calling me from the airport, and I was like going through her house trying to urgently find this passport. And it's now made me so aware of the fact that, you got to check your passport, make sure it's the current passport, make sure it hasn't expired. Like, hearing other people's mistakes are really powerful because they do help us not make the same mistakes again. So once you've gone through, so I guess from this podcast, sorry if I'm rambling on and I'm about to wrap this up because it's a shorter one today. Please don't beat yourself up if you have a financial stuff up. It's okay. You're human, you're natural. The important thing is that we learn from our mistakes and we move on. We take full responsibility and accountability and acknowledge what's happened, because that is when we really step up as an adult and show the universe that we are serious about taking full responsibility and respect for our financial growth as well as our personal and intellectual growth as well. The second thing is, of course, is to fix and avoid this from happening, quarantining it so it doesn't repeat. We don't repeat history, and we can hopefully avoid this not just happening to ourselves again, to other people again. So, for example, me reporting this person to the police. The third thing is obviously solutions. I could very easily just go, stuff it. There's $10,000 out of our emergency money and not even try and fix it. But no, that's not what I want to do. I want to try and replace that money. I want to try and, replenish that as much as I possibly can so that it doesn't hold us back in life and it isn't as big a financial impact as what it is for us right now. Because obviously $10,000 is a lot of money. The fourth thing is obviously gaining perspective. Remembering that, okay, all right, in the big scheme of things, this is all right. This is fixable. We can move on from this, but we need to keep it in perspective, not let it just panic us, not make us fearful or freeze or, I guess, or even worst thing is bury our head in the sand. Like keep this into perspective. Then, of course, moving on to gratitude and moving on to focusing on what we do have in our lives and what we have done right in our lives, where we have been responsible with our money, where we've saved money, where we've avoided losses and risks, where we've, made sensible, smart moves that have made us money. That's really important. That gratitude is incredibly soulful in a healing process as well. Of course, number 6 is, keeping it human, looking for the message, looking for the wisdom. What is the universe trying to teach us and tell us about the errors and the mistakes that we've made in our lives? There's so much growth has come from me in this particular experience. And then finally, that's 7, line in the sand and move on. It's happened. It's in the past. We've done the best we can to fix it, and we are fixing it, but don't let it hold us back. Don't let it drag us down. Make sure that we move forward, we move on, and we move on smarter, wiser, and more financially intelligent than what we were in the past. So there you have it. My complete and utter financial stuff up. My $10,000 mistake. This that happened last week. Yes, I'm embarrassed. Yes, I'm ashamed. I'm annoyed at myself, but I'm also okay now. I'm going to fix it. I am fixing it. And I'm very grateful to have Tom as a partner who's helped me realize, put this into perspective, work together as a team in fixing it. And of course, most importantly, for everyone in this, I'm so grateful that we have emergency money. This is why everyone needs emergency money. And as I always say to people, it's, you never know what might happen out of the blue, but I never thought to include a scam or not ticking the right box on an insurance policy as being what I'd be using my emergency money for. I always thought it was something far more disastrous. So I'm lucky that I'm using my emergency money for something that's really a silly little admin and human error rather than something, really serious like a medical issue or something about a family member or something like that. All right, everyone, that's enough rambling from me. I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. If you could take a second to leave me a rating and review, I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to make sure you're following me on Instagram because that's where I give you all the swipe up links to all of my content the moment it goes live. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week and please feel free to share this podcast with anyone. Thank you and ciao for now.